What's up everyone, I'm Kevin from Others on the Map, and today is the next van build episode on installing our Lagun Swivel Table and finishing the table out of butcher block. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully we can get this done in one day. Alright, so we're going with the Lagun Swivel Table because it's a movable swivel pedestal for the table, so it's easy to get in and out of the bench area without having to move the actual table. You could also do a permanent, kind of like a boat design, where they have the pedestal added right there, right into the middle, but that doesn't give you a lot of ability to move the table around. But the one con to having the Lagun is we're going to put it right here. So if you wanted to sit here, you're going to have to kind of straddle the leg of the pedestal stand. So there's pros and cons to each option, but I think, you know, after doing more and more reviews and getting some feedback from others, the Lagun Swivel Table, or the Lagun Swivel Pedestal, seems like the best option for our use case. Alright, so in terms of what's in the box, so we got this off eBay. I'll provide a link to the page where we got this. Alright, so this is the setup here, everything that comes in the kit. So you have your mounting plate, here's a piece of wood to give it more support, as well as the plastic. I haven't read this yet, so I'm not sure what this is for. Your nuts and bolts, and then you have the one piece that slides into the bracket here, and then this simply connects right into that slot, and then you use those handles to tighten it down. This is going to go on the underneath of our butcher block tabletop, so it'll sit like this. And we should be good. Seems relatively easy. We'll see. So the second part of this project is to thin out the butcher block table, and by thinning it out, I'm actually going to be using a router, which I think that's the best way to do it. And we used a planter to reduce the width of the butcher block countertop, which you can see here. But anyway, here's back to routing the butcher block from the underneath. Basically, I have here a 1-inch router that I'm going to run through here, and then I'll just continue to move down the butcher block and hopefully carve out 3/4 of an inch, basically reduce this in half while keeping the thickness on the perimeter of the butcher block. So the thought here is if I put a piece of 3-inch birch ply as my guide, which is already on the butcher block here, then this is almost 3/4 of an inch. It's a little less, but I'm going to be cutting into the butcher block about 3/4 of an inch here. Let me try and get a better angle, while keeping, you know, the butcher block is 1.5 inches, so I should be able to keep the strength of the butcher block table while thinning it out, making it lighter, because the Lagun Swivel Table only holds 50 pounds. Ooh, this is going to be hard. So I put the weight down because it's moving. This is going to be hard. So I completely cooked my father-in-law's router, so I'm gonna have to buy a new one, but I'm also gonna take a different approach and take a circular saw and real thin and just drive through a lot of the top to try and thin out this wood. We'll see how it goes. I did a quick Home Depot run here, and I got a framing blade for the circular saw. And the new tactic is to run the circular saw along the top of the butcher block, chop up the wood a little bit, and then I'll take the router, the new router that we got, a plunge router, to the top of this, and hopefully that works a little bit better. So we'll see how it goes. Fingers crossed. So I have mask on because it's so dusty. I don't want to breathe this stuff in. Here's the progress so far. I got myself a new router. Well, bought it for my father-in-law since I broke his. This is a 10 amp and it's working a lot better. And you can tell that I'm doing my lines long ways. I take the circular saw, make a couple cuts, and then have enough space for the router to quickly, easily get in there, and then I start trimming side by side. So here's the line for my router, and I gotta do the same for that side, and then I'll just slowly fine tune it. But the table is getting much lighter and we're almost done. Cannot wait. Okay, so for the sides, I use the circular saw for my guide, and that helps me keep a straight edge here. So I cut the circle saw on both, and now I'm going to take the router and just route this out. Almost done. We had to get new drill bits because we broke 3, and this is what's remaining. So I'm using these little bits of wood to help keep the router level, and just going to finish this off, and then we sand it with the belt sander, and then we'll have to put stain on it and then polyurethane, and then it's ready to go. A little messy, really messy, not perfect. But it's what we got. So we're trying to figure out where we want our Lagun swivel table right now. We have the Lagun just C-clamped to the little box here, and we're just trying to figure out what the proper height is, even though it's adjustable, but mainly where we want to put the base of the swivel table to the table itself. And we're thinking we want to move it closer towards the back because that'll put the support or the main bracket in the middle of the table, so there won't be as much tilt.
And we put it as high up as it can go because we just bought our 6-inch memory foam mattress cushions, and obviously, as you can see, they're not on yet, so by the time they come on we'll be higher up, so this will need to be kind of as high as it can go.
And if you want to know what our table looks like, here's the butcher block with about 3/4 inch routed out. It is a little flexible now, so I will have to put some poplar or something to support it, but this bracket will also give it some support. Alright, so I am determining the location for the mounting plate, and basically I'm using a square to ensure that this is straight, and I measured the middle of this bench area, which is 25 inches wide, so 12.5 is the midpoint. I marked the midpoint of the bracket itself, lined those 2 lines up, and then clamped it down, and now I'm going to mark my 4 holes and probably actually drill it while the mounting plate is C-clamped to the box here. I'm going to use a 5/16 drill bit and drill into this guy. So here we go. I made my first mistake of the day, and it's only 8:57, so that's fun. Basically, I put the bracket too high here, so when this lies along these ledges, this wasn't allowing it to lay flush against this wall here. I'm also going to put a ledge right here and right here. So I need to lower this to 1.5 inches because that's the thickness of the outside of this table, and then I could seal everything back up. So it kind of sucks, but gotta do it right. So think about that when you're putting your mounting plate in. Alright, so I just put 2 screws right here just to make sure that it's flush, but this is what I'm talking about. So I have my table on, so I get everything out of the way here. And now it sits flush against that. Perfect. So I just made another mistake. I measured 1.5 inches from the top of the white instead of 1.5 inches with the door on. So if you can see here, this is 1.5 inches from the top of this, and this is 1.5 inches from the top of just the white. So take your time, don't rush it, and just try and do it right. It's not a big deal. It still is the proper height, but I just wish I realized what I was doing there. I'm not going to put another hole in it, so it's going to stay like this. Alright, so last step was to put a support bracket for a piece of poplar. Since I don't have anything going across here, I just put this in place to give it a little bit extra support. I noticed it was bending a little bit in the middle here when I push down. On this side it's fine. In the middle, this bracket is actually doing its job. It's making it even more secure there. So we have the wood down there, and then everything's good. Alright, so that wraps up the swivel table and the actual butcher block table as well. If you have any questions on how we did it, let me know. This was one of the harder jobs. It pretty much took all day to route 3/4 of an inch through the butcher block, but we're really happy how it turned out, and yeah, we're pleased with it. It's not perfect on the bottom, but you'll never see the bottom of the table really, so there's nothing to complain about there. The swivel table is awesome, really easy to put together. Really just 4 bolts for the mounting bracket and then 6 for the mounting plate to the table. And then just make sure you know exactly where to mount the bracket. Maybe measure 3 or 4 times before you drill the 5/16 drills, before you drill the holes through it. So thank you so much for watching, and if you want to see more Vanbuilt episodes, then consider subscribing to our channel, since we're almost complete now. We're getting close. Thanks again, we'll see you next time. Celebratory meal.